How well do you know your partner, really? Here are 19 reasons to watch A Good Marriage. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave Musson, at Dave Musson on Instagram, and this is the place where I talk to you about all things Stephen King. Thank you so much for checking out this video. In it, we're going to be going through 19 reasons to watch the 2014 movie adaptation, A Good Marriage. So do stick around for that if that sounds like something interesting. 2014, bit of an interesting year, or maybe not an interesting year actually when it comes to King adaptations. It gave us a trio of somewhat uninspired ones. So keep coming back here in the next couple of weeks for more of those. But this one is probably the best of the three. So we'll hopefully have something fun to talk about here. Now, before we get into A Good Marriage, a couple of quick plugs from me. You can check out the link in the description to find my Stephen King themed band shirts range. You can find my own collection of short stories, my newsletter, and of course you can now become a member of this channel. You can sign up to be a constant viewer and get access to members only specials and early access to videos and a bunch of stuff like that. Everything is in the description. If you're interested and you want to, then please do sign up. If you're not interested or can't, that's fine. Nothing's changing here. You're still going to get all of the usual videos that you normally get. It's just if you want a bit more, then you can. So back onto A Good Marriage then. So this is the adaptation from 2014 that stars Joan Allen and Anthony LaPaglia in the two main characters. And as I mentioned, it's a story that is found in Full Dark, No Stars, and you can find my 19 reasons to read that book elsewhere on my channel. Now, if you're worried about me spoiling a first time watch this movie, don't be. Any reasons that I cover here that might spoil a first time watch, I will hide behind a spoiler alert so you can bail if you need to at that point. Simply find the timestamp in the description to jump to the outro and come and say bye before you go. Otherwise, you're all good. Now, if you want to watch this movie for yourself, it's available on loads of places. In the US, literally dozens of places, including Tubi and Freevee if you want to watch it for free. And here in the UK, you can get it on Amazon Prime and on Freevee as well. So lots of options for you. Okay, right, let's start rummaging around in that garage then. Here are 19 reasons to watch A Good Marriage. So my headline reason to watch this one, it's solid. Like, if you've read the story, you'll know it's an interesting premise that a wife discovers that her husband of 27 years is actually a terrifying serial killer. And then the husband realizes that the wife has worked out his secret, and it's all about the dynamics of how do they go on with their marriage and what happens next. Like I say, kind of interesting, and this movie is a pretty faithful adaptation of that story. So if you're looking for something that does follow the source material pretty closely, this is definitely that. And considering it had quite a low budget and wasn't being made for theatres, it's actually pretty good in terms of getting a bit of tension going, getting a bit of dread building, and making you feel a little bit concerned for the safety of the characters. It's kind of a pretty effective thriller that you can stick on and veg out to. And sometimes that's all you want, right? So, okay, this was a direct-to-video on-demand release, which is not a particularly ringing endorsement of the final product. But don't let that put you off. This is far from the worst King adaptation out there. Far from it. So one thing this does get right is the poster or the cover art for it, which I will overlay in front of my ugly mug now so you can check it out. I mean, look at it. That's good, right? Now, this film, and I guess the story, both have a bit of controversy attached to it, mainly because King, as he'd already admitted when Full Dark No Stars came out, he took inspiration of the story from a real-life serial killer, the BTK killer, Dennis Rader. And he was fascinated by the idea of how this guy could have gone about killing and kept his secret from his family for all that time. And King did explicitly say he believes that Dennis Rader's wife didn't know what was going on. But in the run-up to this film coming out, Rader's daughter, Kelly, she publicly criticised King, saying that he and the filmmakers were exploiting the lives of the 10 victims of Dennis Rader. And I totally get it, right? Like, if that were my situation, I don't think I'd be too happy about a story from the world's best-selling author and then a movie coming out But also at the same time, it felt a little bit like, well, only saying that when the movie was coming out, when that had already been made public by King years earlier, it seemed a bit strange, but who knows? Not for me to judge. I can see it from both sides, but I believe King when he says that he wasn't trying to exploit that, and he truly did believe that the rest of Dennis Rader's family had no idea what was going on, and that was what sparked the idea in his head, and it wasn't a glorification of Rader's crimes. But at the same time, it kind of does glorify his crimes as well. So a tricky one, right? There you go. Make your own mind up. Now, if you're into looking at other people's reviews, if you take a cross-section of reviews for A Good Marriage, you kind of get a sense of its strengths and its flaws. So Rotten Tomatoes has it averaging at 4.8 out of 10. Metacritic has it averaging at 43 out of 100. So it's kind of middling in terms of those ratings. And you look at those reviews and you get a mixture of things like some decent performances, which we will talk about, but also a bit ploddy in terms of pacing. And I guess the most dangerous for it is a little bit forgettable. And when there are so many King adaptations, a lot of them end up being quite forgettable. So let's talk about cast, starting with the driving force for this movie, and that's Joan Allen as Darcy Anderson. So we're with her when she discovers who her husband really is. We're also with her watching as she toils about what to do next. And then we go with her when she decides where she's going to go. Throughout, she is compelling, she's likeable, and she is the best thing about this movie, for sure. Then we've got Anthony LaPaglia as Bob Anderson, or BD, the serial killer. And there is something unsettling about him right from the off. And what I like about this is that even though there are a couple of attempts of sort of minor bits of deception at the start to make you think, oh, maybe it's not Bob who's the killer, we get confirmation of his real identity and his extracurricular activities within the first 30 minutes of the film, which means that we get to spend basically over an hour with him and Darcy trying to work out what happens next, and with Bob promising that he won't kill again. It's just unsettling throughout. You're never quite able to relax. So Stephen Lang as the hobbling detective Holt Ramsey puts in a great shift and is comfortably the best thing about the last 20 minutes of this movie. I really enjoyed when we get more of him, because he's a presence throughout, but when we finally get to know who he is, he's great. I also enjoyed Cara Buono as the Andersons' neighbour Betty, partly because she puts in a good performance, and partly because, well, she's pretty hot, and I guess I'm just a dirty perv, aren't I? So lastly, before spoilers, I will give this film credit for trying. It tries to build suspense, it tries to throw you off, and it tries to keep you questioning all the way through. And the result is something that is absolutely watchable for the duration of its 100-minute runtime. It's possibly a little bit long, but only just. And yeah, I think it's a decent effort. And in terms of this decade of adaptations that we're in at the moment, it's the best thing we've covered so far. Okay, from this point onwards, going to be talking about how it compares to the story and picking out some of my favourite moments, which might ruin a first-time watch for you. So consider this your spoiler alert. And if you want to bail at this point, just find the link in the description to get to the outro. Find that timestamp and I will see you there. Otherwise, stick around because I've got a few more reasons for you to watch A Good Marriage coming right up.
I'll take that as a yes.
So in terms of how faithful this is to the book, the answer is very faithful. Most of the dialogue is pretty much lifted from page and put onto the screen, and all the major beats are here. The one slight change is that this movie starts with Darcy and Bob's 25th wedding anniversary, which only gets a passing mention in the book, but actually works really well here as a framing device for really quickly introducing us to the family, to the main characters, and showing the view of them as the whole world sees them before Darcy's world is rocked by her discovery. Oh, and that party also gives us a really great line about how Bob goes about his work in his day job, that when we discover what he really is, it's actually pretty chilling.
Okay, because he checks his work, and look out, IRS, because when he has to, covers his tracks.
That's probably a good point to pick out some of my favourite moments, isn't it? So I actually really like how the filmmakers used the same sequence of shots of Bob and Darcy coming home from a night out and going upstairs to bed to have some fun time together. The same routine. So Darcy goes upstairs, Bob makes her a glass of water and then comes up the stairs to meet her and have his way with her. The repetition really pays off when we get to the final instance of seeing it towards the end of the film. Okay, so the moment that Bob slips back into the bedroom without Darcy realising that he'd even come back from his trip is a great little jump scare.
All right.
And then when he just confesses everything to her and then just goes to sleep like nothing has happened. Truly unhinged and terrifying.
Could you turn out the light on me? Would you mind?
There's also a recurring motif of Bob leaving notes around the house for Darcy, like where she hides the candy that she likes eating and other things. And it's like this little instance of controlling behaviour, which is kind of a quirk of their marriage. But again, once you know who Bob really is, it takes on a really sinister edge. And I thought it was pretty effective. That's my favourite moment, though. It's simply the big action piece is when Darcy pushes Bob over that banister. Boom. See you later. In terms of a favourite line, I really like it when Holt tells Darcy that she did the right thing. It just frees her and frees him, actually, and lets you breathe out at the end of the film.
You did the right thing.
Okay, so on to links to other Stephen King works then. So Joan Allen would later go on to be in the Lisey's Story miniseries, and Cara Buono was in a few episodes of the Dead Zone TV series. In terms of Easter eggs, there weren't many. The main one I noticed was that they decided to set this story in Cleves Mill, which is the setting for the novel The Dead Zone. Did you spot any others? Let me know in the comments. So lastly, again, this one is absolutely fine, and I've enjoyed it both times that I've watched it. And you know, if you're ever struggling to find something to watch, why not give this one a go? It certainly is a faithful adaptation of a solid King story, and it's a fun watch. Okay, there we go, 19 reasons to watch A Good Marriage. Are you a fan of this one? Do let me know in the comments. Other things you can do at this point, you can be a member of this channel, yes. For a very small monthly fee, you can get access to additional members-only specials. Got lots of good stuff planned for members in the coming weeks and months. You also get early access to videos, you can get some special emojis, and you'll be supporting me directly, for which I will be forever grateful. So if that sounds like something of interest, do hit the join button and see what you make of it. If you're not in a position to join or don't want to, that's also absolutely fine. I love having you here watching these videos. Maybe subscribe if you haven't done so already, but nothing will change. We'll still be posting lots of public videos as well. Other things you can do, you can check out my range of Stephen King themed band shirts. You can check out my collection of short stories, Once More Under the Sun. It won some awards this year, which I was very pleased about. You can sign up to my newsletter, a bunch of other things as well. And that's about us done for this video. So do come back here soon, because next up on the 19 Reasons to Watch path, it's quite possibly my least favourite Stephen King adaptation ever.